the rub some dirt on it element of uh, uh, of parenting that um, you know dads are just much more likely to provide.
Yeah.
That I one of my big culture shocks in having girls even was that girls do require a little bit more sympathy when they um, whereas whereas boys, if you react enthusiastically enough, they're going to be totally
Yeah.
10 points, amazing. You don't have boys, but I'm sure you're familiar with just they're essentially indestructible, and they're going to be fine if you just react enthusiastically enough to whatever hurt them.
Yeah. Don't look at the baby after they've fallen and looks like they've done damage. Make sure it happens. And if you don't look, then no one knew that you got hurt, so you can't cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, something that I'll do that my wife knows is she'll send the kids to me because she knows they're fine, and I'll do my medical assessment for my job and just make sure no bones are broken, no one needs to go to the hospital, and so I'll put them through the rigors. I'm like, nope, no swelling, everything seems here. You got your ball and socket joint all set here, and you got no pain, right? Okay, I think you're good to go. And the worst that you'll have to do is spend 12 cents on a Band-Aid because it's pretty much glorified sticker.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it is that's definitely an influence that it's important to have to get back on the horse, like literally in the case of falling off a horse, but figuratively. Is that I think again, and actually, I mean, I think Gabrielle Schreier was in part making this point, was that fatherlessness is a big part of the inability to of the anxiousness of the over therapeuticization, where if you don't have that drive to get back on the horse, and so where does that saying come? You get back on the horse because if you don't, it gets so much harder to ride a horse psychologically, right? It gets psychologically so much more difficult if you don't get back on the horse right after you fell. It psychologically becomes so much harder to get back on the horse later. Right? That's where that expression comes from.
Teaching martial arts and stuff, the first thing that you do is how to fall, how to take a hit, because once you realize, I can be hit, being hit in a fight is the normative thing, and so I'm prepared for it, but I also experienced it. And while yes, I could get knocked out from one, if I know how to do it, then I know, okay, I've been hit, I'm in the fight. Or what some people have taught during training is the first hit is you hit yourself to say, okay, psychologically, I'm doing the thing that I'm scared of, and now I've done the first hit, and now it's time to divide and conquer.
You see football players do this.
Yeah, right. Their teammates are slapping them.
They collide with each other or slap each other. To get into the game, because there is something. That's my experience having played football. There's something about that first hit that it releases the adrenaline to where you can take hits. And so there's definitely that. And I mean, I'll draw the example to in a previous life, and I still do this a little through my work, especially with school board candidates, is talking to first time candidates and often people who aren't in politics, one of the differences between people who get good advice and surround themselves with good people, and people who are like a babe in the woods politically, is their ability to respond to being attacked by their opponent or the media or an advocacy organization that's against whatever they're doing or whatever, right? Is the because in politics you get hit in a way that is completely different from you're never gonna do something at your insurance firm that's going to get a hashtag started about you, right? Like you so it's just so weird that now that you're in politics, these are the kinds of things that can happen to you that just can't in these kind of a normal job, right? And when that happens, it can be absolutely demoralizing. And the first thing I do is we'll sit down, we'll hear you out, we'll talk about it and what we're going to do. But the very next thing we're going to do is, if we can get away with it, we're not going to make a statement right away. We're not going to do it. We're not going to focus. The next thing we're going to do is get you on doors. We're going to get you knocking on doors, because that will help you. First of all, it just helps you refocus on the thing that you should be focused on, and not on Twitter, which is not real life and doesn't matter. But also, one of the ways it's going to help is you will realize just how few people care about this thing that seems like it's the only thing people care about when you're not knocking on doors. It can feel like the entire universe so I've had people who were pastors, and they go back and find old sermons and they're just trashing them for things they said in old sermons, and everything. And it feels like it's the only thing the entire world cares about. And then you go knock on doors, and it genuinely doesn't come up at a single one, right? and then it helps you realize, this wasn't actually a very big deal. The real world does not actually care about this thing, and puts it in perspective. And these are the kinds of things that we need to do in all kinds of aspects of life, and that if you don't just get back on the horse, right, then you're going to have this crippling anxiety about more and more things if you don't just get back into it. Candidates that I could not convince to just go knock on doors again, they're done, right? They're basically done. The campaign is over at that point, right? And that's and there are so many things in life that are that way. If you can't pick yourself up and move on, then you're going to have this one part of your existence that that you're going to be basically avoiding for the rest of your life. And the more you avoid it, the bigger it feels, and the more you feel like you have to do other things to avoid it. When the answer is don't avoid it, go do it, right? And do the thing again. And like you were saying in what I'm assuming now is the last episode, is you're not bad at this thing. You're just still learning. You haven't learned it yet.
Yeah.
Learn it. It is like, and that's true across every human endeavor in life, right? Is like, no, you're not bad at this. You just haven't learned it yet. Get back on the horse. Let's do it again. You're fine, right?
Yeah. And explaining that to your kids is key, because I think it's that trust me, here's a reason, and with examples. Like,
Yep.
Dad's really bad at this, or Dad was bad at this, or let me tell you a story about how this happened. It's the let me tell you about how I walked up the hill 15 miles in the snow, and you go, oh wow, like that's really boring. But then that story sticks with you, and you remember that as a kid, and you're like, oh, Grandpa sacrificed a lot to go to school, and so for him, education was important even when they had nothing, or something along those lines. Yeah.